thought for the day. Self-reliance is the highest expression of self-respect. Welcome to 7 Minutes for Yourself. I'm Christina Aina, and I'm so glad you've joined me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. Let's take this time to reconnect with ourselves and improve our well-being. In today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself, we take a listen at one of Ralph Waldo Emerson's essays, which encourages us to be the best version of ourselves. Have a listen.
We've got 5 of them here. Self-reliance. What does that start with? Well, it starts with trusting ourselves. As Emerson says, trust thyself. Every heart, he says, vibrates to that iron string. Trust thyself. The world is in a conspiracy, he says, to make you conform, to make you do what it wants you to do, and you have to have Herculean, heroic, he says, godlike trust in yourself to actually show up and live a life of integrity, right? And just jumping ahead already, nonconformity. He says you need to be a nonconformist. He says, whosoever would be a man or a woman, if he was writing today, whosoever would be the best version of themselves must be a nonconformist. Why is that? Well, if you haven't noticed, the normal behavior in our world is a little off. Emerson tells us, again, you need to be a nonconformist. You need to be willing to step outside of what everyone else is doing and trust thyself as a taskmaster, he says. It takes godlike courage to do that. Why? Because the moment you do that, he says, and again, 1841, he says, society will whip you with its displeasure. You make people uncomfortable when you do things like turn off your phone early in the evening and get up and meditate and eat healthfully and not doing all the things that everybody else are doing, right? That requires a level of courage that's going to result in a level of whipping. But we need to have that level of courage in order to express ourselves most fully. Again, Self-Reliance 101. To just look at your past and say, well, I said that in the past and I used to do that and I got to maintain consistency to who I was. He says that's not a good idea. That is a great way to make sure that you aren't bringing your attention to the present moment. He says you want to have a 1,000-eyed present moment. You want to bring all of your attention to this moment. What do you feel in this moment? What's most authentic for you right now? Now, you don't want to have a foolish consistency to the past. You want to be willing to let go of who you were, what you said was important to you. He says you don't want to drag the corpse of your memory with you. That's not a very productive thing. Today, we'd say you don't want to drive looking in the rearview mirror. You want to look forward. Greatness, he says, appeals to the future. Now, we want to put an asterisk on that and make sure we qualify it with foolish consistency, right? Consistency is actually an important thing. You just want to be aware of being foolish in your consistency, where you're continuing to do something that no longer resonates with you. You know it's not true, yet you're going through the motions because you're uncomfortable stepping out of that trend. That's when you have some issues. That's a foolish consistency. The fourth idea here is zigs and zags and angels. Ralph Waldo Emerson tells us, if you look at a ship, right, that's going from his time, it was like Boston or New York to London, right? The ship doesn't go like that. It doesn't go in one straight shot. Oh, I decided to set sail and boom, went on a straight course. He says, no. You'll notice that there's 100 zigs and zags and tacks, right? But if you step back and you look at it from a broad enough perspective, you'll see that it actually straightens itself out into a straight line. And he says your life is like that. Your life will zig and it will zag. But we need you to be in integrity with who you are, right? Such that you're finding a truer and truer course. But if you're just doing what you think you should do and trying to conform, then we're not going to figure out who you are.
That concludes today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Today and every day with your kiddo is a gift. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.